Sumo Insight Global. The channel TO encourage reading, awakening knowledge.
She maintained that politics is not a game of guesswork. It is the practical application of morality in social life. Think with me. If human beings need reason and a free mind to survive and thrive, society has a single obligation: to organize itself in a way that protects this tool. And the bond that unties you, the individual, from the rest of the group is a concept forgotten by many, but sacred to her. The individual right. It is not a favor granted by the government. It is the moral principle that guarantees your freedom of action in the face of the collective. Politics as an extension of morality. To Ayn Rand, politics is not a game of opinions. It is the practical application of morality in social life. If man needs reason to survive, then society must be organized to protect that tool. The concept that bridges the individual and the collective is the individual right, a moral principle that defines a human being's freedom of action within a social context. The right to life and the true nature of rights. The most fundamental right is the right to life, from which liberty and property flow. To have a right to life means having the right to take the actions necessary to sustain it. This includes thinking, choosing, and keeping the fruits of your labor. Rand is categorical. Rights protect you from society, not the other way around. And here is a crucial point. There are no rights that demand the labor of others. There is no right to free housing, healthcare, or education, because that would require turning other citizens into your servants. Rights are about freedom of action, not a guarantee of things. The role of the state. The monopoly of force. Physical force is the only way to violate a right. To prevent the chaos of private vengeance, individuals delegate the use of force to an independent agency, the state. But Rand's government has a strictly limited role. It exists for only three things. First, the police, to protect against domestic criminals. Second, the armed forces, to protect against foreign invaders. And third, the courts, to resolve disputes and enforce contracts. Anything beyond this, whether running schools, hospitals, or roads, is a violation of the citizens' rights. The government must be the guardian of peace, not the father or the master of the nation. The critique of collectivism and the third way. Rand launches a fierce attack on the welfare state and the mixed economy. To her, the idea of the common good is a myth, used by pressure groups to plunder the wealth of others through the ballot box. She also rejects anarchism, because without objective laws, society becomes a battlefield, ruled by gangs. She warns that a mixed economy is not a balance. It is a road to dictatorship, a system where the government gains arbitrary power to favor some at the expense of others, destroying the predictability that wealth creation demands. Laissez-faire capitalism, the only moral system. For Rand, laissez-faire capitalism is the only moral economic system in history. Why? Because it is the only one based on voluntary exchange and respect for private property. Under capitalism, no one is forced to serve anyone else. You prosper by offering value that others want to buy. It is a system of justice, where intelligence and productivity are rewarded, and mediocrity is not subsidized. Rand advocates for a total separation of state and economics, in the exact same way as the separation of state and church. The meaning of money. Rand completely subverts the phrase, "Money is the root of all evil." Under capitalism, money is a token of honor. It represents the value you have created, and that others have recognized. It is the tool of peaceful exchange, replacing the gun and the whip. Money only corrupts those who lack principles. But for the productive man, it is the ultimate reward for his creativity and effort. The monopoly fallacy. Many fear that capitalism breeds exploitative monopolies. Rand debunks this. In a free market, a monopoly only survives as long as it offers the best product, at the best price. The real villain is the coercive monopoly, created by the government through subsidies and regulations that block competition. Economic power is the power to create. Political power is the power to punish. From each according to his ability? Rand concludes with a warning about the socialist slogan. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need. To her, this turns ability into a curse, and need into a privilege. It is a system that punishes the virtuous and rewards the beggar. Rand's alternative is a society where you own your mind, your labor. Philosophy in practice. How do reason and rational selfishness deal with racism, ecology, or the education system? Ayn Rand didn't just stay in the realm of theory. She applied her thinking to the hottest issues of her time. To her, public problems are not accidents. They are direct reflections of the philosophical ideas that dominate a culture. The crisis in education. Rand saw modern education as a factory of demoralization. By replacing the teaching of facts and logic with a focus on the collective and empty memorization, schools are stripping children of their ability to form concepts. The result? Bright kids get bored and drop out, while others learn that truth is simply the opinion of the majority. For Rand, the Montessori method was the right path, because it respects the independence and natural development of the individual mind. The old left versus the new left. Rand analyzed the transition from the old left, which promised industrial efficiency and abundance, to the new left. When the economic failure of socialism became obvious, the new left changed its strategy. Instead of promising wealth, they began to attack production. She saw in this movement a return to the primitive, where economic growth is vilified and mysticism replaces science. To Rand, it was the hatred of human success, disguised as rebellion. Racism and environmentalism, faces of collectivism. To Rand, racism is the lowest form of collectivism, judging someone by their biology instead of their mind. She argued that capitalism is the only system that destroys racism, because the market only cares about your competence, not your color. On the other hand, radical environmentalism was seen by her as an attack on human life itself. If progress is viewed as an aggression against nature, then the environmentalist ideal would be stagnation. For Rand, technology and wealth are not the causes of pollution. They are the only tools capable of solving it. Civil rights and the body as property. Rand was categorical. You are sovereign over yourself. Because of this, she defended the moral right to abortion, viewing a woman's body as an inviolable territory. But her defense of freedom went even further. She was a fierce voice against the military draft. To her, forcing a young man to risk his life for a cause he did not choose is the ultimate abuse of power a state can commit. Rights are not paid for with servitude. Rights are respected through freedom, lifestyle, and the fake crime. What you think, what you consume, or who you sleep with, is none of the government's business. Rand believed that a crime only exists when there is force or fraud. Using drugs or leading an alternative lifestyle might be a poor choice, but it is not a crime. On the other hand, she had absolutely no patience for terrorism. To Rand, a terrorist who uses a political cause to justify violence is worse than a common criminal. He attempts to hijack morality, calling destruction idealism. In Rand's world, there are no political prisoners once you initiate the use of force. There are only criminals. Light bulb, quick voiceover reminder. Civil rights and the body as property. Rand was categorical. You are sovereign over yourself. Because of this, she defended the moral right to abortion, viewing a woman's body as an inviolable territory. But her defense of freedom went even further. She was a fierce voice against the military draft. To her, forcing a young man to risk his life for a cause he did not choose is the ultimate abuse of power a state can commit. Rights are not paid for with servitude. Rights are respected through freedom. Economics as a battlefield. In economics, Rand saw the state as the ultimate villain behind financial crises. The minimum wage? To her, it is a barrier that breeds unemployment. By preventing the poor from negotiating their labor for its true market value. Taxes on the rich? Nothing more than punishing competence and halting the growth that benefits everyone. She asked a provocative question. If the state forced you to work for free 10 hours a week, you would call it slavery. But if it takes the fruits of your labor through taxes, you call it taxation. What is the real difference? Furthermore, she warned against crony capitalism, vague laws and complex regulations that exist only for lobbyists and politicians to trade favors, creating instability and killing productivity. The path to prosperity. For Ayn Rand, the path to prosperity is not paved by government decrees, but by unregulated freedom. It is the voluntary collaboration between free individuals. In the end, the question that remains is, are you the owner of your life, or just a resource at the disposal of the state? If ideas shape politics, education, and the way we live in society, there is something that directly feeds these ideas within us. Something that gives us the energy and the emotional fuel to keep fighting for our own lives and our values. And for Ayn Rand, this fuel is called art. In the next video, we will enter the fascinating universe of objectivist aesthetics and understand why she considered art not as a mere pastime or decoration, but as the true fuel of the soul. You will discover this answer in the next chapter of our journey through the mind of Ayn Rand. Until then, keep your mind focused on reason. A big hug, and see you in the next video.